Welcome everybody to TechnoScope, the channel for everything tech and gaming hardware. Today we're doing the second part video of this little guy right here, the Monoprice Mini Select 3D printer. This is the review and the demonstration. Now if you haven't seen the first part of my video, you can go back to my channel, or you can go ahead and click the little icon up here and watch the first part. The first part was mostly informational. This part right here is going to be the actual demonstration and setup and all that stuff. As you can see right here, I have already printed some 3D prints. This video has been in the works for about 3 weeks. So since the part that you're going to see after this intro was all recorded 2 or more weeks ago, some things have come up and gone on since then, and I'll talk about those things at the end of the video. So now let's go ahead and jump into the setup portion and go ahead and show the demonstration.
Welcome to the channel. This is TechnoScope.
Okay guys, so now that it's in the home position, they say to take a piece of A4 paper and check to make sure that the print head, the extruder is at the right height by seeing if you can slide a piece of paper under it. It says that it should a slight amount of resistance when trying to put the paper under there, but that the paper should not be dragged with the extruder, or the print head as I call it. As you can see, it actually goes in there, and there is a bit of, I can actually feel it rubbing against the paper. I'm noticing that they don't actually tell you how to check on the manual, how to actually check different points on the printer. It just says to check the different points to make sure that the extruder doesn't drag the paper. How you're supposed to know, how you're supposed to figure that out, I have no clue, because it doesn't say anything about doing that in here. Let's turn it on and see if maybe that does anything. Maybe it'll move and we'll find out. Well, I got it to move. I don't know what I did, but I got it to move, so maybe it's good. Who knows? At this point, I don't know. So they're saying before I turn it on to insert the memory card now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back off, and then I'm going to put the memory card in, and then I'll turn it back on. Okay, so the memory card is in there now. I'm going to go ahead and turn the printer back on, and we'll take it from there. So it's saying to rotate the wheel to highlight the temperature entry, menu entry, and press the control wheel to open the temperature menu. There's only 3 things on here, so I'm guessing maybe it's under monitor. Again, this selection menu does not look like what they have online, so I'm guessing they changed it since the documentation was made. Okay, so it says to highlight the extruder entry, and I found it here under the monitor menu. So I'm going to select extruder. Rotate the control wheel to set the temperature to the target temperature for the type of filament you plan on using. So we're setting the extruder temperature to you probably can't see this because it's probably too bright, but it's set to 190 on extruder. So, and on platform, which is this part right here, it says to set the temperature to the target temperature for the type of filament you're using. This actually makes no sense to me. I don't know. Okay, so I'm looking at this website, and it says that even after being printed, PLA, which is the type of filament that we're using, can become soft at temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius. So the platform is set to 50 degrees Celsius. I think that's where we're going to leave it. Obviously, it doesn't need to melt once it's been printed. So it's saying the next step is to start preheat, but after I set the temperature for the platform, it started preheating itself. So I don't think that's really an issue. It's, you still probably can't see this, but it's saying that the extruder temperature right now is 188 degrees, and the platform temperature has gone up to 53, which I'm not sure why, because the target is 50. So the next thing it says to do is to prepare the filament, and what it wants me to do is to take a pair of cutters or scissors and cut it diagonally, basically giving the filament a sharp point. Okay, because I wasn't quite sure how to use that white PLA that they included with the printer, I went ahead and opened up a roll of the filament that I bought initially with the printer. This is by 3D Solutech or Solutech, not sure. And this is chocolate brown. That's what we're going to start off with. So it says here to go to the Move menu and select the Z-axis option, and to turn the wheel counterclockwise to raise the extruder off the platform. Okay, so I've placed the filament on the printer, and it says to take the filament, hold this lever up here. So hold it this way, and to insert it through here, and you're basically going to feed until it hits the extruder. You'll feel resistance, and that's when you let go of the lever. I'm feeling resistance already. So basically what I'm doing is hold this lever here and feed the filament until it reaches the extruder. So now it wants me to select extrude. I'm guessing that's the E on here. Under the Move menu, it says highlight the extrude menu in the Move menu, press the control wheel, and then turn it counterclockwise to feed the filament into the extruder. Counterclockwise says up, so I'm not really sure. But it actually feeds in. That's kind of backwards from what I thought it would be. There it goes. So you do that until it starts to extrude filament from the printer. Okay, so I used the plastic scraper to remove the little bit that came out to start with, and there was a little bit, after I did that, a little more filament started to come from the extruder, from the nozzle. So according to the manual, you're supposed to wait until it stops coming out and then clean it. Okay, so the next step is to print a test pattern from the micro SD card. So what they want you to do is to go to the print menu, which is the first one on here, and to load up cat.gcode file, which is the first thing that it's got selected. And what it should do, okay, so I'm not really sure what happened there, because it was supposed to start printing, but instead it ejected the filament. Okay, so the first test, I'm not sure what went wrong. While it was supposed to be printing the filament, the first thing it did was eject it out of the printer, and then it started trying to print. But I don't know. So I fed it back in there. I had to go through the reheat process again for some reason. Looks like when I canceled the print, it also cooled off everything else. So it is currently heating everything back up, and we'll try it again. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try this print one more time and see if we can get it to print without ejecting all the filament. Okay, looks like it's working this time. So it did this little test print and look like it's printing pretty well. I was worried if this would actually adhere to this. See, that's not a problem at all because this is not coming off of here easily. Okay guys, so it looks like that was the last step in actually setting the printer up. So all the feature work is done on the computer, so I have to set up Cura and actually get something to print, and we'll go from there. So that will conclude this video, and I'll see you in the next one. My name is Elemento, and this is TwistedCurve. Now I just want to remind you that the portion of me setting up the printer, actually printing some things and going through the whole demonstration, all of that was done in the prior weeks to this part of the video and the intro. I have learned a few things and I've come across a few things. For the most part, this is a great beginner printer. I've learned a lot of things about it. I've learned a lot of things about 3D printing in general. One of the things that I've come across is that different types of PLA produces different types of print. It's the same material no matter who makes the actual filament that's being used, but the quality of the print itself is going to depend on things such as the model that's being used, as well as the type of the brand of PLA that you're using. The best print that I've had so far was printing Baby Groot here, whereas this one has the quality of almost something like you would buy in the store. I mean, it's that great. This one right here was actually printed in two different pieces, and if you want any of these prints, I'll put the links in the description down below. This was actually a 2-piece print, whereas I printed the body first, and the body took roughly 19 hours to print, and then, the body took roughly 12 hours to print, and then the next day I printed the head, which took around another 7 hours. In total, about 19 hours. Now, if I had played around with the settings a bit, and if I knew a little bit more about the 3D printing software, there was probably actually enough room to print both of these at the same time on the plate and cut some of that printing time down. But as they are included, they come in 2 separate files, so I printed 2 separate pieces. But definitely the best one by far. This brown PLA is some great stuff, and I'll put the links to all the PLA that I used in the description as well. I wasn't quite as happy with the orange PLA that I used here for the jack-o'-lanterns. As you can see, I printed 2 of them eventually, though, but it took me a while to figure it out. The PLA for these did not want to stick to the hotbed nearly as well as this stuff did. Now, the brown PLA for Groot, I printed directly to the plate. As you can see now that there's blue painter's tape on it. I ended up going out to get that because I was having so much trouble with the orange PLA. It took me at least a dozen tries before I got this to start printing a successful print. When I first started, it was laying down PLA, but it wasn't sticking to anything. It just would not adhere. And when the print head moved, it was dragging the PLA around with it. Eventually, though, I was able to get a good print. As you can see here, I bought the super thick roll of blue painter's tape, and I'll link that as well. It's two strips side by side on this, and I just cut it with some scissors and made a little platform down there so that the PLA will adhere better to the plate, as well as make it easier to remove. That silver spatula that I showed you in the other part, the first video, comes very handy when it comes to removing these. You can use the plastic one that the printer comes with, but that metal one makes it a lot easier in combination with that blue painter's tape. After I figured that out, this one right here only took, actually I'm not sure which one is, I think this is the first one and this is the second one. But after the first print, I went back and tried it again using the blue painter's tape. It only took 1 try on that one. Now I will say that one thing did happen in between. The right side of the hot plate, I actually adjusted up just I think it was a quarter of a turn with the hex wrench, just because for some reason it was sticking on one side but not the other. So I was thinking, the conclusion that I came to is that it was probably too low on the right side. So doing a quarter turn on the front and rear hex screw seemed to fix that. Again, I was able to get this print as well as the little test cat that comes on the file, the SD card. I was able to get both of those printed just fine without adjusting anything, but I was having more trouble with the orange PLA. In the end, though, I'm actually pretty happy with this orange PLA. It's don't get it confused. It's nowhere near the quality of this print, but it still accomplishes the job. Now, it being Halloween things coming out a little rougher than this came out is perfect. So I guess it has its uses. I'm not sure. I will try to print something else in the orange. Like, I might go back and try to print Groot's head in the orange to see if maybe it's the print that made it look so much better on this one. Maybe I can get it to print in a higher quality. I'm not really sure yet. I printed this one with another one, a white PLA. This stuff that's actually on the roll right here. This is glow-in-the-dark PLA, or so they claim. As you can see right now, it looks perfectly white. It never really had the glow-in-the-dark effect that I wanted, where you just turn off the lights and you see it glowing. It does glow a little bit, but you have to have really bright lights, like probably what I have here in my studio, set up, shining directly on this thing, and then you have to go to pitch black and you'll see it barely glowing. So, unfortunately, not the effect that I want. So, guys, don't buy the glow-in-the-dark PLA just for that effect. Unless you have maybe like a black light shining directly on it, you're not going to get the effect you want. It does glow blue in the dark, but like I said, it's pretty much effectively not a glow in the dark product. So, but if you do want to buy it, I'll put the link for that down in the description as well. Maybe you want to set up black lights, and maybe now keep in mind I haven't tried a black light, so I don't necessarily know if it works like most other glow in the dark stuff. But it doesn't hurt to try if you want to. But anyway, the PLA aside, I got these 4 prints plus the little cat. My daughter really wanted that cat. She really loved it. So I ended up giving that to her. That's why you don't see it on the table here. As far as the printer goes, I should do this little disclaimer. This is not the same printer that I printed these with. In fact, I haven't printed anything on this one. What happened was kind of interesting. The hotbed, well, I guess it's not interesting at all, to be honest with you. I don't know why I said that. The hotbed has a sensor on there, and the sensor tells you what the temperature of the hotbed is, and it allows the circuitry to control how warm or hot it is. Now, I haven't actually discovered a real use for why the hotbed needs to be heated the entire print, because it seems to me, from what I've seen so far, that once it lays down that foundation, it doesn't matter if the hotbed is on or not. That's just what I've seen. I mean, it's not printing on the hotbed once it prints that bottom layer. It's printing above what's already printed from there on out until it's done. So I'm not really sure how much that really impacts things. Whether the hotbed was hot or not never really seemed to... Well, I'm not going to say that. It was hot every time I printed one of these. But the thing is that it didn't seem like it made a difference what the temperature on the hotbed was set to. There may be just because of my inexperience. Maybe there is a scenario or scenarios out there where it makes a much bigger difference, but in mine it doesn't. Keep in mind that for everything that I printed here, I also use support material. There was barely any support material on Groot's body, but the head had quite a bit of it. this head even actually still has support material inside of it because I don't have anything that can get in there to get it out. The pumpkins definitely had support material on both of them, and they're kind of hollowed out. But I don't know. I don't know if that relates to the hotbed or not. But because the sensor went bad, now keep in mind this printer is made so that any tinkerer can replace parts on it. The whole thing is supposed to be user serviceable. But because it was brand new, I just called up Amazon and I was like, "Hey, look, the sensor on this thing is not working." Just to give you a hint, if you see 999 on there, that means that the sensor is not functioning. I just called up Amazon, told them the sensor is not working, and they sent me a replacement, and I sent the other one back. So I'm not sure if it really made a difference. Like I was saying, what I was about to say earlier is that the second jack-o'-lantern, which I believe is this one, I keep getting them confused. They look so much alike. The second jack-o'-lantern that I printed was actually done with the malfunctioning sensor. So as you can see, and it only took one try to actually print it. So as you can see, it's not really that big of a deal. But if I needed to say it was out of the return period, and it does have a warranty on it, but say I'm out of the warranty as well, I just get on there and replace the sensor myself. So not that big of a deal. Other than that, the only other issue I've run into is that there was a software bug, and I haven't printed one on this, so I don't know if this one will do it as well. But there was a software bug on the other one, whereas if you cancel the print and then clean the plate and try to start everything over again, instead of printing again, once you told the printer to start printing, instead of printing, it would just raise the head up off the bed, and then it would just go all the way to the end, and the motor would just keep turning and make this horrible noise with it, trying to destroy itself, trying to move the head out even further. I don't know why it was doing that. I don't know what caused it. I only know that it happened. It happened once after I turned the printer on, but but it happened. There was like three or four other times when it happened, and all of those were after a failed start to a print when I was trying to get this first one printed. It might be a software bug. I'm not sure. I haven't checked the website yet to see if there's a firmware update. There probably is. But something to keep in mind. Now I did realize, did see that once a print started successfully printing, you didn't have to worry about that. That would only happen at the very beginning. So if you didn't have an issue with it trying to do that after the start, then it was safe to walk away and come back hours later to a fresh print. Other than that, it's been pretty much trouble free. It does have. I'm not sure if I pointed this out before, but it does have built-in Wi-Fi. I have not tested that yet. It actually takes some tinkering with the software. I think you have to flash a new firmware to actually enable the Wi-Fi. I'm not quite sure, but I do know. Yeah, you do, because you don't set the Wi-Fi settings on the printer itself. You use the software, and then you flash that software to the printer to get it to connect to Wi-Fi. I haven't actually used that, so I don't know. I've been using the included micro SD for everything that you see here. Other than that, the other thing that I want to mention, the loading and unloading the PLA is kind of a process. I didn't actually finish reading the manual, so it probably actually covers this, and that's probably just me being me. When you first load the PLA, the one thing that they don't say to include, they say to use scissors. Don't use scissors. Get a pair of diagonal cutters. I have a very small pair of Husky diagonal cutters from Home Depot, and they're perfect for this. You put it on there at a steep angle and cut a point at the end, cut a point to the end of the PLA that you're inserting. You hold down this right here, you squeeze this together, which holds, there's a motor right here which controls the feeding of the PLA. So you squeeze this tensioner right here, and then you feed it into, it goes into this opening here in this gap. I believe it's right in here, and it'll run through this tube down into the head. You do all that by hand. Once you've cut the cut the point onto the PLA, feed it in there by hand with the printer off or not warmed up or anything. Once it gets to the point where you feel a little resistance, push on a little, because it might slide a little more. For me, it did. But once it gets to the point where it just will not budge anymore without trying to break the PLA, you can stop right there. Go to in the menus, go to monitor, and then go to preheat and preheat the thing. Once it's preheated, then you want to exit out of that menu, go to the move menu and select E, which is for extruder. And then you want to turn it counterclockwise. I don't know why it's counterclockwise. It seems to me that it should be clockwise, but turn it counterclockwise, which says up, by the way, to move the PLA down. I don't know. But anyway, turn it clockwise and it will push if the head is warmed up like it should be, it will start to push the PLA down into the head. And what you want to do is turn it one click until it squirts out the end. And you will see, there's some on here right now. It will start to slowly ooze or extrude out of the printer without even being fed in there. And it will do this probably for like a good 10 minutes. Just let it come out of there. Let it keep extruding. You might want to use that move menu to raise the head a little, because it's kind of gravity fed, and without some being down at the bottom, it has more room to come out. What you want to do is wait until it stops extruding by itself without actually being told to. That's only done when you first load the PLA. And the reason for that is when you turn this knob, this doesn't have fine control like it does when it's actually printing. So it's going to shove a bunch of it down into the head, and it's going to build up a little bit of pressure on the inside of the nozzle. And what you want to do is wait until that pressure has equalized and nothing is being extruded out. And what happens then is the printer is ready to print. Then you can load up, you can go to the print menu and select whatever you have on your card, or if you do it using USB or Wi-Fi, do it those methods. But use the diagonal cutters that I told you to get, and just cut snip the excess PLA from the head. Those diagonal cutters, nothing says to use those. I've never seen anything said to use those, but those are the best thing that I've seen so far for actually cleaning the head and getting the PLA prepared. I got scissors for cutting the tape and everything, but I never saw anything say to use diagonal cutters. But that's my tip to you. That's what I've seen to be the easiest. Use diagonal cutters for that. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. I will say this much: when you're removing the PLA to change it to a different color or whatever, or what have you, preheat the head as well. Let it preheat. That way, when you remove the PLA, it's not jammed in there and trying to hold on to it. That should keep it from clogging. That's the best I can tell you. Preheat it, and you will have to pull on the PLA quite a bit to actually get it to come out, because there's only so much this head will do for you. You can use the move menu to reverse out of it, but once the tip of the PLA cools down, it will get lodged in there, so you will have to pull on the PLA itself to get it to come out. I think that's pretty much all I've learned about the printer itself. For the PLA, this I didn't know. This stuff absorbs moisture, and all these bends and turns that it has to go to get to the actual print head can make it break if it gets to the point where it absorbs too much moisture and becomes brittle. So some of the brands include a large, what looks like an anti-static bag. I don't know why it would be anti-static, but they include large bags to keep the PLA in. If it doesn't include a bag like some of mine did, 1 gallon Ziploc bags work just fine. All of them come with the little packs of silicone gel, which is designed to draw moisture out of the air and keep it dry. Keep those packs. Get a 1 gallon Ziploc bag and just stick them in there when you're not using them. But those are my tips for this video. If I come up across anything else, it'll be in future videos. I will print more things. I will show other things. I will show new things that I've come across. These are pretty cool in my opinion. This skull actually has a jaw piece that I'm going to print. I haven't gotten to that yet because I was switching out the printers. This one has actually lost 2 of the teeth on it, which is not bad because, I mean, it is a skull after all. But the teeth kind of broke off. This is set by default in the file that I got to print at 50% PLA. And it takes a while to print the skull. I believe this was 32 hours, if I'm not mistaken. These jack-o'-lanterns were 30 hours each. This was 32, if I'm not mistaken. I would just go ahead and spend the extra time in PLA and print this at 100%, because since it has so many cavities and so many delicate pieces, some of the things just broke off. Like, it's supposed to have sockets here for the jaw to actually go into, and those sockets are broken. There's no way that it's actually going to stay on after I print it. But since it's a decorative piece, it's just cool. Now, the other thing I should say about this skull is it wasn't just a skull. It was actually multiple prints to make a full-blown skeleton, but the only thing I was looking for was the skull. So I'll print the jaw to go along with this, and those are going to be on display next to my pop vinyls above my desk where Sledgehammer is. But anyway, this video is definitely long enough, but you can see why I split the two into 2 pieces. The links for anything that I've talked about in this video are in the description below. Keep in mind that using my links keep in mind that my links are affiliate links, which means that anytime that you buy something on my channel, it does not cost you any money to use my links, but I do get commission, and the commission is how this channel makes money. But anyway, if you have any questions or anything, leave those below. This is pretty fun to do. So if you have any questions, I will more than gladly talk about this. If you have any concerns or suggestions, especially suggestions, if you have suggestions, definitely leave those in the comments. Otherwise, I think that concludes this video. Again, this is TechnoScope, the place for everything tech and gaming. And my name is Elemental. Oh, and I just want to point this out. I hope you like the new graphics. I spent a couple days revamping everything. We're on graphics set revision 5.0 now. The microscope has gone away. I'm not sure if anybody actually cared about that other than me. That was kind of a whole branding thing, and it, in my opinion, kind of seems like it failed, but I don't know. But the microscope is gone now, so it's just, the logo is just now TKS. We're on revision number 5, so I hope you like that stuff. If not, I don't know, tell me below. I'm not going to change it anytime soon. I'm pretty proud of what I have now, and it took me quite a while to come up with that design concept. All made by me in Illustrator, so I'm very proud of that. Anyway, my name is Elemento, and this is TechnoScope.
TechnoScope is a TwistedCurve production.